Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today with us, we have previous Nufp mentors. We have Dr. Krista Harrell, Associate Dean of Students and Title IX Coordinator at the University of South Alabama. Then we also have Dr. Michael Mitchell, who's the Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students at the University of South Alabama. So again, thank you so much for joining us. So happy to have you answer more questions about Nufp. So what is Nufp? The NASPA Undergraduate Fellows Program, Nufp, creates a semi-structured mentorship opportunity for NASPA members and students on their campus. Mentors and mentees apply as a pair and meet in a formal setting throughout the academic year to develop a sense of what a career in student affairs and higher education looks like firsthand. So the mission of Nufp is to increase the number of historically disenfranchised and underrepresented professionals in student affairs and or higher education, including but not limited to those of racial and ethnic minority background, those having a disability, and those identifying as LGBTQ+. So we're going to jump right into it. Why did you decide to be a Nufp mentor?
I'll default to Mike.
Well, my first time as a Nufp mentor, I actually became a mentor because I had one of my students who did his homework. He was doing his research in NASPA. He found the program and approached me and asked if I would serve as his mentor. So I was very proud of him, and he brought me all the paperwork and said, "Will you be my mentor?" And I was so proud of him. I said, "Why, sure." Really didn't know a lot about the program itself. And so when he brought me the paperwork, I read through it and looked like an excellent program. And I was super proud of him for finding it. And he ended up being my first mentee.
Awesome. Thank you.
And for me, I was involved with the NASPA Board of Directors for some years, and so had been aware of the program, and obviously Dr. Mitchell mentoring previous mentees at our campus, but had the opportunity last year to mentor a student of mine that I'd met when he was a freshman. And same thing, he was very interested in it and asked if I would do it. And so I asked if I could have one. And it was actually, I think, pretty great because we both had one in last year, and to be able to have them have the experience together also was really, I think, unique and a good experience for them. And I've seen the benefits that come from it all around, and I just really strongly believe in the program.
Awesome. Could you describe for us what the application process was like? Do you as the mentor submit it? Does the mentee submit it? How does that work?
So the great thing about the program for me as the mentor is the mentee does all the work. So, and I think that that's great because it really gives them the opportunity to show that they're serious about investing in the program. So they complete the application. Of course, there's a few things for me to do as the mentor to make a commitment to the program. I have to make sure that I'm going to sponsor the student to go to the national convention. Hopefully we'll get back into going to a national convention in person one day. And so, there are a couple of things like that, but really the mentee does his or her portion of making sure that he or she fills out the application. I commit to making sure that I'm going to support that person financially to get to a convention or to a meeting of some sort. And it's really, for the most part, for the mentor, it's really easy, especially if you like your mentee and you're really, really supportive of your mentee. It makes it super easy.
I was going to say, do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Chris?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well, yeah.
I know you stated, both of you, I believe, that you were approached by mentees. Did you have to find any of your mentees? Or was there anyone that you thought, hey, I can see that you're interested in student affairs? Did you bring it up to any mentees that you've had?
Krista?
I had a conversation. My mentee was Sean Holloway, and I did have a conversation with him, but because he asked, right, what are opportunities? I knew he wanted to go into higher education, specifically student affairs, for a little bit of time. And I'd known Dr. Mitchell had supported the program and had been involved with, the state NASPA for quite some time. So I think it was kind of mutual because Sean also did his homework. And I think that we have a program, we have a master's level program on our campus, actually doctoral level as well. It's not a traditional type of program. So, for us, some of the students that we have, you might go on to an MPA, or they might go somewhere else to get their degree. So I think it's even more of valuable opportunity for our mentees because they're going to get really immersed in that and get that experience, particularly, like I said, if they stay on campus and they either go into our program or a non-higher ed program.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I always hype my mentees up on social media. And so somehow a mentee always finds me. So the students who are interested in higher ed during their undergraduate time, who know that they want to go into the field in their senior year or sometimes junior year into junior year, if they are interested in the Nufp program and they've been paying attention, sometimes they find me.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome to point out how social media has helped mentees find you, especially right now with everything being virtual. Like that is a great point to, show up to tell others and hey, like you can find someone. It doesn't have to be in person. You use the internet. It's your friend right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there any way that Nufp, or can you tell us how Nufp helped you as mentors develop professionally?
For me, I think, there's not a lot of structure to the program in of itself for the mentors. We have things that we are asked to do and kind of commit to do that Dr. Mitchell mentioned, and, some other general basic things that a mentor should always be for a professional, a peer, or a student. I think for me, given the basis of the program, I aspire to and constantly work towards being an ally to marginalized and underrepresented groups. It's extremely important to me. I understand I walk through the world as like a white cisgender straight woman. And so everybody's experiences are different than mine. And I understand that, to have around the table, currently and in the future, colleagues that have had different experiences than mine, that have walked the world differently than I do, will help us support our campus communities and our students the best way we can. Will help lead our staff and our teams and our universities stronger. So anything that I can do to help empower people to be able to get to where they want to go. And I know, at least as a first generation college student, as a woman, that there are challenges to that. And, it's about sometimes who you know. And Dr. Mitchell mentions about, people know that he's mentored before, so they want to be able to be that person because they understand, besides being a really wonderful person and colleague, that he is connected. And that's important. Like it's important to help people build relationships that help them get where they're going. And particularly for undergrads that might not have realized this was even a job. They just figured we popped up one day and thought about this and we just dropped in our, desk, but we really did try to study for it and learn about it. And so anything we can do or anything I can do to help that is important. I think it's really valuable.
So for me, I've had 4 mentees, and all of my mentees have been African-American males. And so for me professionally, it's been a wonderful opportunity for me to help young African-American males be introduced to the field of student affairs and to have them have a really solid introduction to the field. And I know that Nufp has provided them with some really great connections as they have entered into graduate programs and looked at where they want to go to graduate school, or whether or not they want to get their master's in student affairs, or whether or not they want to get their master's in something else, or, and help them to make really sound decisions about where they want to head after they finish their undergraduate degrees. And for them, I think Nufp has been a really big part of those decisions for them. So it's been really helpful for me professionally to know that I've helped to make that introduction for them, because I didn't really get that as an undergraduate making the decision to go into the field of student affairs. I had a great mentor, but I didn't really have an opportunity to make and see a broad swatch of what student affairs really looked like from across the nation. And so I am really, really lucky to have had a great mentor and to have had wonderful experience in this field, but it was a very limited view. And so when I take a mentee to a national conference and he gets to see the world of student affairs from coast to coast and maybe even from nation to nation, what a wonderful experience for that person to be able to see what this field looks like, not just from the perspective of the University of South Alabama, but to get to see a really global perspective of student affairs. It's such a wonderful opportunity. So I just like to give that chance to a young person.
I love that. That's so awesome. Thank you. And then so we talked, Dr. Krista mentioned how it is a semi-structured program, and I also said that in the information as well. Did by any chance either of you work with career services on your campus to kind of assist with giving some structure to the program, or was this on your own?
Well, for me, because I knew my mentees before we got into the program, we really just developed our relationship prior to the program. And when we got into the Nufp program, we just kind of worked our relationship the way that we had already developed our relationship. So it was a really, really easy relationship for us because we continued a previous existing relationship. And so we really used our relationship and continued to manage it as it existed. And when they needed me for something, they came to me and we managed it as we needed to. So again, ours was a very loose relationship as well, and really loosely structured relationship as well.
Yeah, and so we didn't go through career services either. Though when I saw your questions, I thought that might be a good thing just in general, maybe to help us get the word out. I don't know, but just for me, I think mentor-mentee relationships are very personal. So Dr. Mitchell mentioned, everybody takes a different approach to them, and I think having a conversation with whomever you're going to mentor or be a mentee of about what the expectations are out of the relationship, because there are for both involved. I think that's important for people to understand, what does the mentee want out of this and what do they need and want from me in terms of guidance or direction or feedback. And I give a lot of feedback, and the same thing for me too is I'm not in this just to do it, right? So over the years, Dr. Mitchell's been in the field a long time. I've been in a decent amount of time. I very specifically and probably judiciously think about who I want to spend my time with like that. We mentor lots of students, right? But in a direct relationship like that, you're pouring yourself into somebody else. And they're really looking that from you. So I think you have to have those conversations about, again, are we good with this being kind of loose? Are we good? Do you want more structure? Do you need times and dates? Or we just meet whenever you want to? I mean, those things are important, because if not, then people might feel like they didn't get what they needed to out of it. And so, that's why I think having a rapport with the people beforehand is incredibly helpful. Like mine last year, Sean had boxes from his freshman year about what he was trying to check off to do. And he knew I knew where he wanted to go. And that I could probably help him get there to some degree. But I think those conversations are important. So I think anybody that gets into this needs to do that up front.
And so knowing that you both knew your mentees in some regard previously, have either of you worked with a mentee for longer than 1 year? Did they reapply through the program? Is that not a thing that they did?
All of my mentees have been 1 year program appointees. And, I don't know if, I think the program, I think it's great to have that 1 year experience, that you go through this program and you grab it
Mm-hmm.
and you take that information and you run with
Mhm.
it. And also from our perspective, because typically I will attend a national, I'll attend a national conference for NASPA and take my mentee with me to that national conference. I'm probably going to make a significant investment in that mentee from a travel standpoint, and so I typically want to spread that out and have an opportunity to have a different student have that experience. So I would typically want to take a different student with me to a different national conference and have that experience from my perspective, and have another student to have that exposure to that national experience.
I agree with that. I mean, I think it's part of this is we're trying to get students that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity or the connection or, whatever. And I don't think we can limit that. We want to make sure that as best as we can, we give as many people as we can the opportunity if we're able to do so.
And that's actually a really great point as well. For the mentees that you've had, do you know now if they're working in student affairs? Have they continued on that goal, that dream?
So my mentee from last year, Sean, is first year, second year. Hello, I can't believe it. Last year was like a huge blur. He is a second year graduate student at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, working in the Dean of Students office, crushing life and like taking names and probably directing their Dean of Students who I know. But yeah, he's doing great things.
Yeah. And so my mentee from last year, Broderick, is a second year grad student here, working in diversity and inclusion as a graduate assistant. And then my previous mentees, one is at University of Mississippi, working in diversity and inclusion, I think, as well. And then my first Nufp was working in higher ed, but then changed his mind and decided to go a different route. So I think working is he K through 12 now? Kadeem?
Yeah, he's working in K through 12, but he also does a lot of social activism.
Yeah.
That's really been his focus.
Yeah, but he was my very first one.
I love Kadeem.
Yeah.
Kudos to him. That is really awesome. I love to hear that. Love that they're still making a difference, especially hearing that they're in the diversity realm and social activism. That is incredible. Last question that I have for y'all. Is there any advice that you would have for future mentors?
I'll defer to Dr. Mitchell first. I want to hear his advice.
Well, I think my advice is to just grab a mentee. A lot of folks probably haven't done this program. And if you're watching, this particular Zoom and haven't had a mentee, just find a mentee. I've been lucky they found me. But if you haven't had a mentee, find a mentee. And, there are a lot of students out there who might be thinking about higher ed, who haven't made their minds up. And this experience for them may be what they need in order to see the possibilities for them in this field. Because, when you get to a NASPA national conference, for example, and you see those faces, you see the faces that look like yours, and you hear the experiences that are like yours. And all of a sudden you realize that, this profession can be for me. And so my advice is to find a mentee, and you may just help someone decide that this is the work that is their passion.
Thank you.
I don't know how you follow that, but I think going along with what Dr. Mitchell said, I think everybody has talents and gifts, right? You don't have to be a super seasoned professional to be a mentor in the program. I think there's a lot of opportunity for people that are in maybe the earlier stages or even mid part of their career that want to give back. I think, my advice would be just to don't feel like you're not ready for it. I think that's important too, because you might not have much experience to share. You don't have a particular title, that doesn't matter as much as it does that you, again, invest in somebody else. You know, I do believe in anything that I'm involved with that we have a responsibility to kind of replace ourselves, right? So if I'm involved in a community or on a board or anything like that, it's my responsibility to develop the potential of the people behind me or next to me, so they feel like they have everything they need to do what we're going to ask them to do, right? If they come into the field, and that's my responsibility. And to Dr. Mitchell's point of, you know, walking around conferences and seeing yourself there and your experience, again, like I mentioned a little earlier, we have to have a diversity of thought around the table. Higher education and student affairs is evolving very, very quickly. And we can't have what we've always had. And we've got to make sure that we represent our students and they see us when they come to us for support and services and celebration and challenge. And so I think mentors, again, anybody that thinks that they would be willing to do it should really consider it and see it as almost as a responsibility. And one to be proud of, because you know, Dr. Mitchell's talked about his 4, and that's just a small tip of the iceberg of all the people that over his lifetime I'm sure he's mentored, and that makes a difference. It's humbling, but it's really good. And if this is where people start, you know, doing it within the state of Alabama, which needs it desperately, we need people to make sure in our state that we have really strong professionals to come back and work in our state to support our institutions in Alabama. Hopefully they want to stay, or if not, they go and spread their wings and they go somewhere else, but they know that this is home. And hopefully we'll be able to do that for them.
That is very great advice. Thank you both so much for joining us today. Can't wait to share this with everyone that's a part of NASPA Alabama, and hopefully we can get more enthusiasm and more excitement for the program. So thank you both so much.
You're welcome. Let
Thank
us
you
know
for hosting.
yeah, keep us posted. Let us know when you put it up.